In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how I got my art from this to this in about 1 month's time. And I came up with the list of 6 different things that you need to master if you want to get your art to the next level, like how I did right here. So let's get started. The first thing that I say is the most important thing that I got down was actually my shading. So you see over here in my old art, my shading wasn't really that good, and I didn't really master all these different parts right here that need to be darkened, because when I look at a photo, there's so much different aspects to it that need to be darkened, especially if you want to have a really nice realistic look. So even when I go to the gallery, I look at different pieces of artwork and I see like, what did this person do really good, and why does that painting look so satisfying to look at? But I realized that it's the shading that matters like 100% of the time. That's the thing that's going to separate you from looking average to looking amazing. So this is what I see so many times too. Even when I critique people's artwork, I always say that, oh, you need to darken up your shading. People are afraid to use pure blacks or use really dark browns, but those are the things that are going to help you out. Even right here, for example, you see from this eye to this eye, all these different parts that I shaded. Over here on top of the eyelid, you need to darken up this part too. Over here around the top of the eye, that needs to be darkened up. Underneath the eye, all this parts needs to be darkened up. Right now, this photo is looking too bright. It's not dark enough. And that's the reason why it's looking cartoonish. Also down here in this bottom eye, there's so many different parts that need to be darkened. Like if I were to remake this one right now or touch it up, I'll darken up this part right here at the top of the eye. And I'd also darken up all around this pupil right here. All of these parts need to be darkened up. So even if you look at your artwork and you're wondering what needs to be changed, I'm guaranteeing you right now, it's probably your shading right now. So how can you fix your shading? Okay. I always like to use a color called burnt umber, and that's like a really dark brown. You use that whenever you're creating your shadows. And then for those parts that are really, really dark, that's when you're going to use your pure blacks. I don't like to start off with pure black all the way from the beginning of the painting, because if you were to smear or mess it up, then that's a really hard color to clean up. But if you smear like burnt umber or get that like in a place where it's not supposed to be, that's easier color to clean up because it's a little bit lighter than the black and it's still a brown tone. So you can easily mix it in with other skin tones or flesh tones that you have. So number one, you need to darken up your photos if you want to get from here to here. And that's like the number one thing that I changed, and it leveled up my pictures to this. But that's not the only thing. The next thing that you need to fix to get your photos right is to have proper outlining. So for my underpaintings, I followed this same exact guide every single time. I like to map out where all the shadows are and where all the lights are. So when I was creating this photo right here, I created an outline of all of these different areas that you see with the shadows. And underneath the eye right here, I made like a little trace. I'm gonna show you the underpaint that I use for both of these eyes right here. And you're gonna see exactly what I mapped out. You see that I didn't just map out the eyelashes. I didn't just map out where this eye goes or like around the skin right here. I mapped out even more than that. What I did is I mapped out all these little details, because I knew that when I'm painting, I'm going to be focusing on all those areas, and I don't want those to be missed out, because that's missed out detail. When you're painting, you want to get as much detail as possible. Even these little things right here, those things matter so much. So you need to focus on those small details. So if you want to get good at creating underpaintings, I do have a 7-step guide on painting portraits where I show you how to get your underpaintings correct. That's in the description down below. Check that out, and it's going to help you out. So the next thing that I had to focus on to get good from here to here is my color mixing. You see, my colors over here weren't really that good. Over here, I'm not using that wide of a range of colors. I'm using a very limited range. And when you expand your range of colors that you use in your photos, is going to help you out so much. So over here, you can tell between, okay, 1 color, 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors, and that's about it. But when I go over here, there's so much more colors that I use. So one color right here, second color right here, third color right here, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, all around. So I just widened up my palette and I use so much different colors. I use all the way from darks all the way to whites. I have such a wide range. Even when I'm using my browns or my tans, I'm using such a wide range. I'm using the darkest tan all the way to the lightest tan, because I know that the wider range of colors that you use in your photo, the more depth is going to have and the more realism is going to be. Because when you look at like a human eye or like a professional painting, they use such a wide range of colors. They don't use a limited palette. So you need to expand your palette and get a wider range of colors that you use. And mixing colors is very easy. You just need to keep on trying. It's like trial and error, and there's a lot of experimentation. But if you're really good at color matching, then your photos are gonna look way better. So practice mixing up your colors. And for mixing colors, I don't really use my brush. I use something called a palette knife, because using a palette knife is gonna make your colors come out cleaner. But when you mix your paints with the brush on oil paints, then when you put it down, it's gonna have a smear between the two colors. It's not gonna be a solid color. It's gonna be like a mix of the different colors, because oil paint is hard to mix when you only use your brush. So that is why I like to use my palette knife to mix the colors. Now for the next step that I would say that helped me get from this to this right here is my use of pure blacks and whites. You need to use blacks and whites in your photos. Don't be afraid to use them. I was afraid to use pure blacks and pure whites in my photos because I didn't really know how it's gonna come out. I thought that was gonna look off, like it's gonna be too dark in some areas or too bright in some areas. But those contrasted areas, like the really darks and the really whites, that's really gonna make your paintings pop. Because even if you look at something that's like very eye-catching, you realize that there's a lot of contrast. There's a lot of like opposite colors, like contrasting colors are like red and green, like blue and orange. When you put those two colors next to each other, they're like completely opposite from each other, but that's what makes things pop. I put really dark colors right here and I put really light colors right next to it, and that's what's giving it the texture. Over here, I didn't really use such a dark range of colors and a white range of colors. Over here, too, you see this eye, I could have lightened up so many parts and I could have darkened up so many areas too, just by using pure blacks and pure whites. Now, like I said before, you want to start off with your burnt umber before you move on to your blacks, because the black is a hard color to clean up and burnt umber is an easy color for you to put black on top of and get like a darkened up area. Okay, so now after using your pure blacks and pure whites, now that's like all the color areas that are finished. Actually, no, you need to use your pinks too. That's something that I realized like helped me out so much, and especially creating like a human like look, because humans, like they have the pink tones and they have all these different range of colors, but I didn't really use that over here. But even like around the eye, you're gonna see that there's a lot of pink areas that need to be touched up. So don't be afraid to use your pinks. Don't be afraid to use your reds, because that's gonna really make the flesh have some life to it. You want the flesh to have some life. You don't want it to just be pure brown or like pure tan. You want it to have like red tones and warm tones, and that signifies blood flow. And that's really gonna help you out. Even just the smallest touch of that is gonna level up your painting so much. And that's the huge difference that I see from here to here. Yeah, I did use a little bit, but I didn't use it to like a really good extent, because here is, I used a way darker tone of red and pink. And over here too, I use a way darker tone. Here wasn't dark enough, and I could have lightened up like those reflections around it if I made this part darker, like added a little bit of red to it. But yeah, now that is it with all of the colors. The next most important thing that I want to say for you to focus on is your brush size. Use a wider range of brushes. And you can buy these from Amazon, you can buy them from Target, you can get it from any art supply store. These are pretty cheap. Just get a wider range of brushes, because Normally when I paint, I use a whole different range of brushes. Like this brush right here is the one that I use the most. It's a fine brush. And that's what you're going to use for all of your details on the eye or like whatever skin that you're painting. This is what you're going to use for your details, but also you need to focus on like the really tiny areas that I use for the highlights right here, like these little dots. I use this very fine brush. It's like a small tip. You need to use that for all of your little highlights and your dots, because if I try to use my larger brush for this, then it's going to come out too large, or it's going to smear, or it's going to mess up. So that's why you really want to have those small tip brushes. Also, for covering up your large areas, you want to have a little bit of a larger brush. And I used this medium-sized round brush for all of my large areas, like covering up the skin area around the eye, like this skin, and all the places that don't really have like fine detail. I use this brush. So even just a range of 5 different size brushes, all the way from like very fine to like medium size, then you should be good. And also depends on what type of surface you're painting on. So the surface I'm painting on isn't really that large because I'm using a sketchbook. So I don't need to use that large of brushes, or like I'm gonna focus mainly on using smaller brushes because I'm focusing on tiny detail. So yeah, you want to use a wide range of brushes whenever you're painting as well. So now that is exactly what I used to get from this right here to this in about 1 month's time. Trust me, you can do this stuff. If I can do it, you can do it as well. So just keep on going, keep on repeating these things, all right? Because if you have the same routine and you just keep on reiterating it, you keep on getting better, you keep on working on the flaws that you have. That's exactly what I did. And that's how I got from right here to right here. So don't limit yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Just keep on trying and you're going to get there. All right. So now, again, check out that 7-step guide on painting portraits in the description. It's going to help you out a lot, especially if you're a beginner and you don't know where to start, or you're wondering what to do or how do I get good, because that's going to break down all the steps. I made it really easy and I gave you all the best tips that I've learned over my years of painting. So again, I want to thank you all for watching this video. And if you want to learn how to get really good at mixing colors, check out the video on the screen right now, and I'll see you all over there.